You've heard about it, you've read about it, but you've never seen it until now. Behind closed doors at the CIA.
Total darkness on the grounds of what may be the most secure place in the world, the CIA. We all have our image of what goes on here, and for most of us it's probably James Bond, secret agents, spies using the latest tricks of the trade, like the video technology you're seeing right now, whereby my image can only be seen through a special starlight scope, but not to the naked eye, or where a match can make this environment out here look like daylight. We have been cleared tonight to explore the facts, the myths, and the people behind the closed doors of the Central Intelligence Agency. They call it the Compound, a 258-acre classified city with no street address but its own zip code. For the first-time visitor, it's intimidating. Security is tight.
Can I have your social security number, please?
58762. You do get the feeling that everybody here knows everything about you. That's not true. But security does monitor all of your movements once inside. There are no tours here. Even immediate family members can't come in except one day, once a year. Just getting the agency to agree to this story took 2 years of persistence and negotiation, and we agreed on certain ground rules. We would be escorted by CIA representatives at all times, even trips to the restroom. All CIA employees were notified of our presence and given the option to appear. Because there were undercover operatives in the buildings, the agency had the right to review our videotape and erase any footage that directly compromised their security clearance. Our interview questions were not screened in advance, and we retained complete editorial control. Were you a spy? The agency itself is a contradiction in terms. For almost 50 years, a secret organization in a free society. Their official mission, to collect, analyze, and disseminate raw information, intelligence about foreign countries for our nation's top officials.
The vast preponderance of what we collect, frankly, we steal, all right? I mean, that's what intelligence is. It's stealing secrets. Right? We steal by flying reconnaissance satellites. We steal by listening out on communications. We steal by recruiting assets in agents in places where people don't know that they're present. Certainly there's going to be a lot that you can't talk about publicly, because in talking to you and to Americans, I'm also talking to Saddam Hussein and Kim Jong-il and Hezbollah and all of the people that, frankly, we're spying on.
To protect those interests, the agency was built so that what goes on here stays here. On the outside, the green-tinted windows are electromagnetic shields, so no internal communications can be intercepted. Inside, engineers and architects design what is known as the wave, hallways that deliberately twist and turn, choking off all radio emissions while allowing people and air to move freely. One of the first things that you notice is that the office doors have much more than a conventional lock and key. Because what's inside is for their eyes only. To secure entry, each door has a special combination lock. In fact, the offices are called vaults. A typical vault looks like pretty much any other government office, except that you're issued 2 phones. The green one is secure, the beige one is not, and they must be 3 feet apart so as to avoid eavesdropping. Now, the CIA has an internal cable TV system. It has 25 channels, 5 of them are classified. Now, what to do with the trash? Well, you can just toss it, or you can shred it, or it can be sorted into any one of 3 top secret bags. Now, where do these bags go? That's classified. To maintain secrecy, the agency isolates itself from the outside world. They have their own police department, power plant, phone company, computer network, television studio, and full-service printing plant. But still, there's one unavoidable part of doing business that the agency can't completely control.
We have about 20,000 pieces of mail a day that comes into our mail room, and we have couriers that deliver that mail around the metropolitan area to all of our customers.
Obviously, you have security concerns with mail coming in. How do you handle that?
Well, we screen the mail. in a variety of different ways. We do have dogs that are trained to sniff certain items, and we do some technical screening as well.
Can you talk to us about the technical screening that goes on in the mail?
We do some x-rays, but we also do some other things as well. So that's about all I'd like to say.
And yes, they do have labs. Labs straight out of James Bond. What you're seeing has never been seen by the American public. This is one of the ways the agency communicates with their spies abroad.
I literally buried the microdot under the O of your name.
So there's information inside that
for me? There's a microdot underneath the O.
A message, up to an entire paragraph in length, can be put on a film microdot, the size of the tip of a needle, and hidden in something as innocuous as a letter between friends. So I would know if I'm an operative that I always look under the O of my name. Now, what do I do? I was shown the process by a man who teaches it to agents all over the world. He spoke with us, but for his own protection, he altered his appearance.
Exactly.
All right, now we're working right now on what would normally take place, probably in the bathroom of a hotel or something. A little water into any little container. Take that little piece of the letter.
Okay, do you see the little black?
Yes. And
there it is right there.
Oh my gosh.
That's it.
It is so small. Then the dot is carefully placed on a special plastic lens the size of a grain of rice. Can I just put it up straight to the light? Oh my gosh. All right, wait. I want to see what this is. Joan, you are now behind closed doors at the CIA.
That's right.
That's amazing.
That's your message.
That's amazing. Equally amazing is the Image Perspective Transformation Lab. Believe it or not, you are actually looking at a still photograph of Mogadishu, Somalia, taken from 400 miles in space. Here at Langley, the CIA receives a series of still satellite photos from both commercial sources as well as their own spy satellites. These high-resolution photos are then digitally enhanced and animated into a 3D image. Is this the airport right here in Mogadishu?
That's the airfield at Mogadishu, and it's right along the coastal area. So, oftentimes the military had to bypass certain areas of the city to get around to the airfield, and that's important to show them which areas of the city to avoid. It's very dangerous for people to go in and be taking pictures, taking actual photographs on the ground. We can provide information in an animated form that will allow people to be able to visualize and walk through an area they couldn't walk through ordinarily, fly into an area they couldn't fly into ordinarily, land at a beach they couldn't land at ordinarily. So this gives them a way of being prepared in advance for whatever situation they might face.
January 17th, 1991, day one of Desert Storm. Having utilized 3D imagery enhancement of Iraqi terrain, our pilots had actually flown dozens of sorties well in advance of the invasion. But computer technology was only a part of the Desert Storm intelligence package. CIA spies informed our leaders of the perfect time and conditions to launch an undetected first strike, down to the minute.
Night vision equipment takes the light that's available from the moon and the stars and any other light sources, and it amplifies it so it's bright enough for your eyes to see. The night was chosen so that it was a fairly moonless night because we knew that the Iraqi sites would not be able to operate in those conditions, and ours would.
Why can't you be seen?
Well, I travel to foreign countries and pose as someone I'm not. I'm in the business of gathering information about foreign systems, and it's best that they not know who I am.
Night vision, secret writing, computer warfare, the technology we associate with Tom Clancy novels. But it will surprise you how the agency actually gathers most of its intelligence. They get it free. The agency has its own Video Operations Center, where they monitor commercial unclassified broadcasts from all over the world.
There's a lot of worldwide reporting going on, and there's a lot of valuable information. For example, if they're reporting on a nuclear plant, we can look behind in the scenes of that nuclear plant and see rods and count the capacity of that particular plant's power. If there's a terrorist event, you can look at that event and see the crowds and look at the faces of the people in the crowd. Sometimes that yields real information for operations officers.
The CIA library is designed specifically for intelligence. In fact, if an agent needs a phone number, they have instant access to thousands of local phone books from every imaginable city in the world. But not all the information the CIA needs can be acquired so easily. The agency does in fact pay foreign nationals to become spies and commit treason.
It tends to be a matter of paying money for information. And not just governments, but narcotics cartels, terrorist groups, paramilitary groups that might take over a friendly government. All of those types of groups are people inside whom we recruit agents, assets, people to inform us.
When we return, we'll reveal how all that intelligence, covert and overt, winds up in the hands of the President of the United States. Hollywood has led many of us to view life at the CIA as glamorous and always full of intrigue. The reality? To work in the spy business requires a great deal of personal sacrifice. Most of what you do and know you can't talk about, even with family members. The hours are long, and many employees frequently work on weekends and holidays. In fact, 80-hour work weeks are not uncommon. Before he left his job, Director Woolsey spoke with us about his job and what life was like behind closed doors as the director of the CIA. He was very candid and disarmingly honest.
I was going to ask you, what do you keep in your briefcase? But I notice you have at least 4 briefcases over there and a gentleman around here guarding them.
Most nights are 2 briefcase nights for me, and most weekends are 4 or 5 briefcase weekends. I get up around 4:30 in the morning to start to read the overnight cables and materials that have come in. So I've usually worked for 2.5 hours or so before I head for the office.
And when all those briefcases go home, is there a vault or something at home?
Yes.
And how do you secure them?
There's a command post actually in our house where there's someone who takes care of all that for us.
4:30 a.m. It's rush hour at the agency. And for those who work in the printing press, this is the busiest and most important time of the day. They are on a deadline to finish printing the hundreds of copies of classified daily briefings that have to be proofed, bound, and numbered.
We would have to have it completely printed, collated, and out our back door no later than 5:30 in the morning.
5:30 a.m. Karen Moore comes to work. She is one of 7 senior analysts who brief everybody from the president on down. Her job? To condense the world economy into a secret report for the administration's top advisors.
All intelligence eventually comes through here, the hub, the operations center of the CIA. And very early every morning, the briefers come here to go over the early morning reports and all of the overnight traffic intelligence gathered during the night. They must be completely up to date before the early morning briefings of the top government officials. It is almost 6 o'clock. Let's go inside.
You are looking at the Grand Central Station of Intelligence. 24 hours a day, every day, using all of the agency's resources, analysts collect and interpret the top secret details on every major crisis in the world. Integrating maps, graphics, pictures, and text, these briefing books become a classified Reader's Digest.
If you just call back and let us know if that's been cleared, then we can go ahead and disseminate.
The vice president gets his briefing on the way to work.
I go to his residence and we drive to the White House together in his limo.
So that trip in the morning is the time to get caught up?
That's right, yes. We bring him up to date on everything that happens overnight and any questions he might have.
Simultaneously, President Clinton's day starts with a briefing in the Oval Office.
I'm one of the first people that I think that he meets with in the morning, and
what time
meet with him together with his national security advisors. And after I complete my briefing, then he continues his discussions with the national security advisors.
The questions are difficult questions that these people ask. They're a demanding administration, like I would presume any administration is. We're not to give our opinions. They don't necessarily want our opinions. They have enough opinions amongst themselves. What they want from us is what is the facts, what is the evidence, and what does it all sort of add up to. I've never had anybody ask me, what do you think? My role is to represent the entire research and analysis of the analysts back here. It's not my opinion. I don't answer opinion questions.
Now, about this point when you're walking right up to the White House, collecting your thoughts?
Right. What are the 3 or 4 most important things I want to say? What kinds of questions do I anticipate? Make sure that I don't leave anything out, and how am I going to organize it?
Because sometimes you might have a limited amount of time, right?
That's right. You never know until you get in there what their schedule is. It can change pretty rapidly.
And now the process has begun. The CIA analysts are briefing the top policymakers all around the nation's capital, from the Pentagon to the State Department to right here at the White House.
It went well as usual, but it's a never-ending process. I mean, that's part of what my job is to come back here and say, okay, the next question is, and that happens every day. I mean, the next question for tomorrow has to be turned around in 24 hours.
The CIA's goal has always been to remain very private, but in February of 1994, they became very public when they experienced the worst scandal in agency history. CIA spy Aldrich Ames and his wife Rosario were arrested for treason. Ames was a sloppy double agent whose lavish lifestyle was seemingly ignored by internal agency security.
What makes you think you can get away with it, Miss Ray?
Over a 9-year period, in exchange for an estimated $2 million, Ames exposed several hundred intelligence operations to the Russians. The information he sold led to the execution of at least 12 top agents.
Aldrich Ames was not a friend of communism. Aldrich Ames was a greedy, despicable man who wanted a big house and a Mercedes. Jaguar. And sold many lives in order to gratify his personal desire for money.
Aldrich Ames is now serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole. Although Director Woolsey was not at the CIA during Ames' tenure, it became his responsibility to discipline agency employees who failed to detect Ames' actions. Woolsey came under intense personal attack for not firing any of them.
It would have been politically a lot easier to have fired the 4 remaining people who were here, but I gave those individuals letters of reprimand, and I didn't do more for one simple reason. I didn't think it was fair.
Many claim that because of that decision, Mr. Woolsey was forced to resign. Immediately following his resignation, outside the compound, the former director sat with us again for this exclusive interview.
You were under so much scrutiny. There are those who say that you've left before being asked to leave. What would you say?
I had no indication from the president or from anyone who mattered that I was going to be asked to leave at all. I mean, I was the one who decided to leave. I think that the Ames case was a catalyst for some changes that needed to be made at the agency, and I do not regret for a moment that I made the decisions about the individuals, each one based on its merits, based on what that person knew and when he knew it, and took what I considered then and consider now to be the appropriate disciplinary steps.
At its best, the CIA is about people, normal people. When they do their job correctly, no one can know about it.
It's hard for people to understand what exactly you do when you can't talk about specifics of requests or what we gather or how we do our job. So it has to be, it's a pride within the building that's difficult to share on the outside.
It would be nice if you could put your achievements up on the billboard, but that would be the last day you'd be operating as an intelligence organization. And I think that's the recognition that's pretty widespread in the business, and we're more than willing to live with that.
It's one of those things that I feel that when I retire, or when I get close to that point when you say anyone could be free to write about my life, I can sit on that front porch in that rocking chair and say, gee, I'm glad what I did, instead of sitting on that rocking chair and saying, gee, I wished I had done that.
The agency of the 90s is a company in transition. The Ames case, general government downsizing, and the end of the Cold War have led Congress and the agency itself to re-examine the mission, opening 50 years of closed doors.
What the CIA will look like in the year 2000 is a topic of great debate, which will ultimately be decided by global events and the politicians that we elect. But on the personal side, we hope that we have helped to humanize this institution, an institution which up until now has always been shrouded in secrecy. We'll be right back.
the CIA is carrying out mind control on countless numbers of unwitting American victims. And he even went so far as to say the basic methods that they use in this mind control: hypnosis, drugs, and torture.
3 parts policy that they had adopted there. The second one was to find a way of being able to get total control of people's minds. And that would be done by taking hypnotism out of the realm of the occult and introduce it as a new science for the benefit of mankind.
I was an FBI agent for 27.5 years. At the time of my retirement, I was the senior special agent in charge of the FBI Los Angeles Division. I have been qualified in the courts as an expert on cults and satanic ritual abuse. I have information from various sources that judges, law enforcement, prosecutors, attorneys, doctors, and many prominent individuals, including actors, actresses, professional football and baseball players, are involved in these type activities. If you go back 225 or 30 years ago, you have what we call the Illuminati that was established in 1776. And the goals of the Illuminati, this is all very well documented, are to take over the world. One of the best ways of taking over the world is to control people's minds and to take over a country through the control of the minds. So what's happening in America, and based on my research and my interviews with numerous individuals, is that the powers that be, the higher-ups, the people in the Illuminati, are using the satanic cults as a means and as a tool to condition individuals and to make them victims of the mind control, MK Ultra mind control program. There's probably close to 4 million practicing Satanists in the United States alone, based on my intelligence information.
I was used in CIA black budget operations, many of them of a military nature. I was a mind control victim in these same black budget operations, and I was used as a propagandist by the CIA to help bring in the New World Order. I was actually a media person, I still am, radio and TV and print journalism, and basically they set me up through a CIA front company to propagate the New World Order through New Age propaganda. That's about the best way I can say it. And that's a comment I want to make. A lot of this New Age material that we see coming out today, it is an Illuminati ploy to bring in the New World Order. It's sort of a diversionary tactic, part of it. It's a way to get people to be complacent and under mass mind control. And that involves a lot of the trance channeling, all those sorts of things. It's a way to sort of lull people into a false sense of security based on a false spirituality.
Well, it was scary for sure, because tonight students who were in the classroom are telling News 10 that the little girl even tried cutting herself and another student in class.
As frightening as that sounds, some parents are fuming mad, and the school, they say, didn't do more to protect their kids. News 10's Simney Chewin is live at John Sloat Elementary, where it all went down. Simney?
This is a letter that went home with kids today about what happened. It tries to reassure parents and tells them that there were no weapons or dangerous objects involved. But one parent calls that an outright lie. And tonight we talk with kids who were in the classroom at the time, and they give us an eyewitness account of what happened.
So I was scared and I was crying really bad.
Students at John Sloat Elementary describe a day of horror on Thursday when one of their classmates, a 5th grade girl, started shouting she was part of the Illuminati and threatened to kill other students.
She said she wanted to sell her soul to the devil, and then she said she'll kill everybody. Everybody just started crying because they were scared that they were going to die that day.
At one point, students say she grabbed a pair of scissors.
Yeah, I see her trying to cut herself and put and like draw blood, but then she got up and tried to stab another girl that was a seat away from her.
Students say she also drew Illuminati symbols like this one and wrote 666 in the bathroom. Students say her outburst went on for at least an hour, with the teacher only telling them to ignore the girl.
He thought she was just trying to get attention.
When they told the teacher about what was going on,
Antonio Farinas contacted News 10 because he thinks the school should have notified him immediately.
to not be notified about it all day until 6:30 at night last night, that was real upsetting, because when I picked up my kids from school, they were in tears.
Some parents we spoke with think the school could have done more to protect the kids in class and should have taken the girl out of class much sooner.
With all the stuff that's been going on with schools, what does it take for a child to show you that there's something wrong, for her to actually follow through with what she says she's going to do?
They should have stopped it like right away and not let her scare them more, you know?
I think it's a privilege to call yourself a Scientologist, and it's something that you have to earn. And because a Scientologist does, he or she has the ability to create new and better realities and improve conditions. Being a Scientologist, you look at someone and you know absolutely that you can help them. Being a Scientologist, when you drive past an accident, it's not like anyone else. As you drive past, you know you have to do something about it, because you know you're the only one that can really help. I do what I can, and I do it the way I do everything. There's nothing part of the way for me. It's just...
I know what he's doing. He's processing. He's trying to figure out what he is going to tell, what he isn't going to tell. I've never seen you like that. I've never seen that. I know. We've never seen you behave this way before. I know. Have you ever felt this way before? You're gone. You are gone.
No, but I fly. I'm a pilot, and I was one time we were flying to Colorado, and I was flying this airplane that we had to go on oxygen, and winds were better at a higher altitude, so we climbed up, and I realized that we couldn't stay at that altitude if on oxygen. I had to descend because I didn't have enough oxygen. So I had a passenger in the back, so we figured out, me and the co-pilot, that if we turned the oxygen off in the back guy, that we could make it at this altitude. So it wasn't dangerous or anything,
So what happened when you turned his oxygen off?
He was very quiet. He felt... He fell asleep. He fell asleep. He slept the whole way.
Well... But
he's the kind of guy you wanted to have him sleep the whole way. It's like just.
But honestly, looking at it from another direction, isn't that attempted manslaughter? You just turn a guy's oxygen off. You're lucky you're not doing time, for the love of God.
He woke up.
He did wake up, yeah.
When we were landing on descent, he. My hands are... He said, my hands... My hands are your old hands. He said, my hands are tingling. I slept the whole way. I said, must have been the way I was laying. I said, yeah, must have been the way.
Oh, my God. Wasn't getting enough oxygen to his brain. Oh my God.
I know.
Well, it's funny now. Yow.
No, it wasn't such a high altitude that it would have,
sure,
caused death or anything.
That's just the occasional numbness of extremities.
Oh, do you have a Kleenex? My eyes
we'll
are
get
black.
you. The thing there. All right, we'll take a break. We'll be right back with Tom Cruise, everybody.
Corey Feldman has no idea what it's like not to be famous. He was just 3 years old in this McDonald's commercial.
McDonald's gift certificates.
I literally was famous before I knew my own name.
His roles defined the 80s. Goonies,
This was my dream, my wish.
Stand By Me,
You call my dad a loony again, and I'll kill you.
License to Drive.
The only difference between you and that greaseball is that he has a license and you don't.
Films that propelled him into the spotlight for his entire youth. But being famous so young, he says, caused serious damage to him and his friends.
Do you feel like you missed out on a normal childhood?
What childhood? I don't know what that means.
A lost childhood and a loss of innocence. He blames the adults, not just those looking to profit from charming children, but also some with far more sinister motives.
I can tell you that the #1 problem in Hollywood was and is and always will be pedophilia. That's the biggest problem for children in this industry.
The casting couch even applies to children.
Oh yeah. Not in the same way. It's all done under the radar.
Nobody talks about pedophilia.
It's the big secret.
And it's widespread?
Oh yeah. I was surrounded by them when I was 14 years old. Surrounded. Literally. Didn't even know it. It wasn't until I was old enough to realize what they were and what they wanted and what they were about and the types of people that were surrounding me till I went, oh my God, they were everywhere like vultures.
Vultures who Feldman says abused him and his best friend, the late child actor Corey Haim, his co-star in The Lost Boys.
Well, what happens if my mom is dating the head vampire?
Feldman says the trauma of that pedophilia contributed to Haim's death.
There's one person to blame in the death of Corey Haim, and that person happens to be a Hollywood mogul. And that person needs to be exposed, but unfortunately I can't be the one to do it. But the person that knows who did it and knows who he is watching right now, I guarantee you. Yeah.
Intriguing.
Yeah. There was a circle of older men that surrounded themselves around this group of kids. And they all had either their own power or connections to great power in the entertainment industry.
Feldman won't name names. And he admits his friend had a struggle with addiction, which he says was a mechanism to cope with his demons.
It was a symptom.
It was a symptom, correct.
Are we in it?
In 2008, the two Coreys confronted each other on their reality show about the dark past they shared.
You let me get around in my life, man. Raped, so to speak. When I was about 14 and a half, and I'm saying this right now. What'd you do, man, when you saw that going down when I was 14 to me? What'd you do? You knew about it.
You want to talk about the truth? Okay, well then let's talk about the truth. I was being molested at the same time by somebody else. What'd you do? You know, there's a lot of good people in this industry, but there's also a lot of really, really sick, corrupt people in this industry. And there are people in this industry who have gotten away with it for so long that they feel they're above the law. And that's got to change. That's got to stop.
If we start at the back of the brain, we've switched off my visual cortex, so made me unable to see things. If we move a little bit forward in the brain, we've interfered with people's ability and my ability to see faces. A little bit further forward, we've interfered with the ability to perform actions. Start moving your finger.
It's quite odd.
It's not your finger anymore.
It's not my finger anymore.
We've interfered with the ability to compute with numbers.
6, 7, 8.
Okay.
Ooh, yeah. Yes.
We've interfered with the ability to speak.
Land the bridges, land the bridge, land the bridges falling down.
you think of something you can do, and we've basically interfered with it with this machine.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
So what's the problem?
I don't know.
CBS 2's Serene Branson is live at the Staples Center with highlights and backstage coverage we're seeing for the very first time. Serene.
Well, a very, very heavy rotation tonight. We had a very Darrison fight. Let's go to Terrace Chazen for the head of the pit.
Our Rock County Bureau at the Janesville Gazette. Thanks, Margot.
Well, Wisconsin has officially joined 25 other states in a lawsuit against President Obama's health care reform law. Attorney General J.B. Van Hollen says Wisconsin is the latest state, including Iowa, Kansas, Maine, Ohio, and Wyoming, to join Florida's suit. The states claiming the Exorcist, Sa Unchisracho, and Pele Bringritz by health urgent.
Now, Defense Minister McLeod did confirm today that more than 54 18 fighter jets are spending about as much as 20 and ready to assist the 100 deployed over the amount needed. Now, it did depend that how the NOLAN remerges our end, while the university or the UN mission as whole received support from all batteries in the hues of the Garbins of today. Excuse me. I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you, Mark McAllister from Japan tonight. Newly released video.
Nedověděli jsme se nic, dá se tedy předpokládat, že odpoledne pravděpodobně budeme úspěšnější. A teď se pojďme podívat na to, co přinesly poslední hodiny na české politické scéně.
I'm sorry.
Wipe the drool.
I was in a trance.
Yeah, wipe the drool there. I know. Were you looking
There
at the
we go.
rings or me? I couldn't tell.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. Okay.
Yeah, it's a difficult title. It's a good day to die.
But I suppose it's because you had kind of a good day, and if you would have died, well, so be it. Is that it?
That's right. That's a good explanation. Have a sandwich, and let's go shopping. Yeah, Die Hard.
That would have been your chosen title.
Well, it's about, it makes about as much sense. A good, or maybe there is a good day to die hard.
Yeah. I'll tell you what.
You've had a year that would test a lot of people. Illness in the family. A breakup. This spasm of publicity about what happened from Mexico to London.
It was pretty rough, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Ah, weird. Hello. Oh my goodness. Hello. Ew. Strong Brittany. Yeah, it was a weird time. Ew. I'm embarrassed. Can we stop?
We begin with South Carolina. Hello, South Carolina, please pick out the name of a judge. Thank you. Judge number 5, Amy Teagarden.
Recent polls have shown a fifth of Americans can't locate the U.S. on a world map. Why do you think this is?
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, such as in South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere such as, and I believe that they should our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. Or should help South Africa and should help the Iraq and the Asian countries. So we will be able to build up our future for our children.
Thank you very much, South Carolina.
I'm Savannah Guthrie alongside Matt Lauer and Al Roker. Will someone do the junior high hug today? It's like this. You gotta make it real awkward.
That's exactly how
you have to have a certain amount of distance between the bodies in junior high.
Yes, like they say in Catholic school, leave room for the Holy Ghost. Anyway, it's a lot of memories today, actually. It's a big day in music history.
35 years ago today, Elvis Presley passed away, the king of rock and roll. And as Mark Cohn says in his great song, Walking in Memphis, there's a pretty little thing waiting for the king down in the...
I know you said there'll be a time for politics, but you've also said you wanted to change the tone of Washington. Howard Dean recently seemed to muse aloud whether you had advanced knowledge of 9/11. Do you agree or disagree with the RNC that this kind of rhetoric borders on political hate speech?
Yeah. Look, there's time for politics. And, you know, it's time for politics. And it's an absurd insinuation.
In that case, sir, can I follow up on something unrelated?
In covertly recorded off-air transmissions from the Bush-Clinton presidential election campaign in the 1990s, we can see that Bill Clinton was nothing more than a puppet to the puppet masters which placed him in the White House. Bill Clinton's demeanor seems to be similar to a person who is under a hypnotic trance.
It's like, I love him. Can we do any more? Can we do some more? We do some more. Gonna do some more fun. Call. We done all call today.
Lampe, Missouri was a place where I heard George Bush and Bill Clinton talking. Where, from the point of view I had, they certainly were friends, and they didn't recognize any party lines between them. That's something for the, you know, a smoke and mirrors illusion for the public. It's not something they adhere to because they had exactly the same agenda, and that was for bringing in this new world order. I heard George Bush talking at that time. He was talking to Bill Clinton, and I've since photographically recorded it and wrote it verbatim in our book, that when the American people became disillusioned with Republicans leading them into the New World Order, that Bill Clinton, as a Democrat, was going to be put into the office of president. This was decided in 1984. Actually, I'd heard about it even prior to that, but that, as of 1984, they were already discussing it as an absolute fact.
So I wanted to finish the thought here. That's for one break we have to hit live. It's an around the world break. Hard to believe we're being watched in 151 countries. Crazy. Ted Turner changed the world. I'm a big fan of yours. He would serve you, Captain. You know what I mean? Miss Fries, Miss Reddy, what's he got left in life again? After you're elected, think about it. No dope.
That's for sure.
Great guy to work for, too.
Remember that every single man, woman, and child in the state of South Carolina awakens to a freer, safer world because of George Bush. I would remind people that every single morning we all awaken to a safer, freer world because of George Bush. And Nicole, I would remind you and the people of Florence that all of us awaken every single day to a freer, safer world because of George Bush. They themselves awaken every single day to a freer, safer world because of George Bush.
Official U.S. policy has consistently regarded Tibet as a part of China, although an autonomous region within China. We have no evidence at this point that the Chinese government is engaged in any policy or in any actions aimed at wiping out the Tibetans or, in short, reflecting a policy of genocide either against the Tibetan people themselves or against their culture.
At one point in this interview, we see that his mind control programming breaks down.
What about self-determination for Tibetans?
On the BBC Newsnight programme, we see a Chinese government minister also displaying signs of heavy mind control.
Can you explain to us on the political situation why there has been no response from your government to the Dalai Lama's proposal in Strasbourg of nearly 3 years ago now about an arrangement between him and fellow Tibetans and your government?
In 1988, in Strasbourg, the Dalai Lama proposed to make Tibet a democratic political entity governed by itself, which maintains relations of alliance with China. And what does it mean?
Well, it's suggesting, or he's suggesting that they be given autonomy in internal affairs, that they give to you
I just
control.
quote what he said in his proposal. It's nothing new. We think it's nothing new, but another version of the statement that China holds only suzerainty, not sovereignty over Tibet. We heard of this kind of clamoring at the beginning of this century in order to divide China. That phrase also means that the Dalai Lama advocates Tibetan independence. And we have repeatedly said that China's sovereignty over Tibet can never be denied. Neither independence nor semi-independence or disguised independence will be tolerated. Thirdly, the Dalai Lama's proposal favored transforming Tibet into a peace zone or a buffer state among the great powers through demilitarization or neutrality. But a peace zone or neutral zone involves the problem of state sovereignty and international safeguards. So it is out of the question for a country to establish in one of its regions a peace zone or a neutral zone with its neighbors.